Hi, I know this isn't my usual info dump while standing in front of a door. This is an info dump where the door is to my left. If you don't follow me on Instagram, first of all, follow me on Instagram, what are you doing? But I've been getting animation commissions for almost a year for different music artists, and this project I am particularly proud of. It's also my most recent. So I'm gonna make a behind the scenes, show you part of the process of making this. So first of all, go watch the full thing. It's on Mr. Soup's channel, link in the description. Go like and comment and watch the whole thing. That way he gets more money. That way he can pay me more and I make more money. That's not to imply that he doesn't pay me. He does pay me. But you know, if the budget is higher, I can do cooler stuff and I wanna do cooler stuff. So yeah. Cool, now that you've watched the full thing, the first thing I want to show is what I was given, which was the song. Didi play the song. Okay, cool. And this album art, put it on screen, Didi. If you don't, I will kill you. And those were the two things that I was given. Generally, that the tone was supposed to be, I don't know, a bit horror-ish. I didn't want to go full horror because it's difficult for a music video to be scary. So I opted for the Spooky's 1986 route of just making stuff that, yeah, is spooky, which is not horror, it's like Halloweeny, except this song comes out in December, but who cares? The very first thing I made was this planning, just with text on screen. I don't really do storyboards because when something is made this quickly, I don't really need storyboards because I already know every shot in my brain. This section, you basically know all of them. Zoom into the wheel. I didn't do this. I just kept the pan. Far away shot. Silhouettes. I did that. Eye. Close up of the eye. Crash zoom on the puppet. And yeah, this is just to say that, you know, moving in spooky ways. But this is I am funny. Then it's just basically keep the jerky motions forever until right here, I think, where the wheel lands on you. So now the apple turns to maybe, and then this hammer thingy that was originally supposed to be another yes, no, maybe, but I didn't really know where to fit it, so I just made it the wait, no, maybe. Oh yeah, it was supposed to hit the wait, no, maybe, and then basically explode. I didn't do that because with the pacing of this section, it didn't really fit, and also because nothing else explodes, so like, why would this explode? You know, why, like there was no actual reason for it to happen. Perfect. So, the intro sequence. I made this intro sequence, and then I made the characters. So, here's the map that I made very... Actually, I took my time with this one. This one, I like how it came out. It's empty, it's barren, but it was supposed to be, like, abandoned, at least in my brain. So, I think it works. There's a bunch of things here that I was planning to do differently, and then I didn't. For example, my path is beset by death, walk with me. Originally, I wanted this part to not be like a bunch of, how do you call those things at carnival games that you throw balls at and they fall? I don't know, those things. I didn't want it to be that. I wanted it to be basically just the several layers of objects aligning to form the text. An example of this, of what I'm thinking of, is maybe in KDA's Pop Stars, when sort of all the different layers come together to form the, like, dragon image? Was it a dragon? If I remember correctly, it was a dragon. That's what I was thinking originally, but honestly, with the time that I had, it would have taken a lot of time to figure out how to make it. So I just did this instead, which I think works really well. It's a bit spookier. Like, this vibe gives a lot more of a Shrek Halloween special. I'm never mentioning Shrek again, cut that. Something is making these things activate while the point of view person camera guy is walking through it, which I think gives a lot of a spookier vibe. And the walk with me was a fun reveal, I think, to just point at the exact direction of where the camera is going to turn, because up to this point you don't, like, the extra theater is there technically, it's over here, but you don't really pay attention to it in this section. Of course, you're like distracted by the wheel, the moon, the apple basket, and the huge spotlight over here. So yeah, it was meant to sort of lead into this section, because originally the Walk With Me was supposed to be like the original plan for these, so just objects aligning to form the text, and instead I made this cool thing. Here's some self-promo animated by Didi, which is barely readable when you're watching the animation, but it's fine. I planned to give it a lot more variety in terms of decorations around, but it wasn't necessary. I mean, the whole aesthetic is kind of like modern retro games, PSX stuff. I love PSX horror games, and that inspiration is already like visible in other works I've made for Super, like for example the Swindle animation that is just workplace horror, because I love workplace horror in media. So yeah, I sort of went for the same vibe, and in those games the graphical fidelity kinda sucks in those, so of course mine is better and cooler and more awesome, but the standard was on the floor, so I didn't really need to lock in that much, but I'm still sort of proud. I used very few textures, but we'll get to that later, I think, if I remember to do that. The extra theater, also that moon later, we'll get to the moon later. I'm proud of how it came out here. I'm proud of this sort of, you never notice it because in the shot it only gets up to here, so you can't really see it very clearly, but there is like a bunch of forced perspective. These windows are a lot bigger than these, which are a lot bigger than these. Also, the brick density, how big those bricks are, gets smaller, like from here to here and from here to here, or same things, the size of the columns, just sort of forcing the idea that it sort of is bigger than you expect. Like these up here look a lot further away than what they actually are, because I made them so small and the bricks are so tiny. What else? This really cool XR thing. I wasn't planning on doing this. Originally I just wanted to put an extra screen here with the hand signs that are part of Super's merch line that go SUPXR, so you know they would just light up the X and the R. But then I had to put, you know, every theater has a sign that says, hey, this is a theater, so what's the name? And then I don't remember what the first name was, but I noticed that there was an X and an R, so I thought, oh wait, I can just put it there. It's way cooler. I think it's a fun reveal. At least what I was planning was to lead the eye over here with this really bright signs, and then sure, your brain perceives this part and maybe you read it, but you don't really realize that there are an X and an R until, you know, they light up and the background music literally spells it out for you. And yeah, I think that was a pretty cool thing he came up with. I hate how text works in Blender, but that doesn't matter, like it's unusable for me. I hate it so much. Doesn't matter though. Next, the puppeteer model. It wasn't hard to make, but it did require slightly more effort than I expected, because I had to make something that matches Stacy's style. Stacy is the artist that usually makes models for Super. Go follow her, go watch her video on PS2 games and her tutorials, and go listen to her music. Do everything that I tell you, I compel you to do that. And I had to sort of make something similar to her style, and specifically something that called back to the girlfriend character that are in some of Super's animations. That I made those animations, but the character itself was made by Stacy. I wasn't asked to make this model. I just saw the album art and thought, I fuck with this character design heavy, and I want it in my animation. So I made it. Shout out to the album artist. I need to confirm who made it, but whoever it is, here who they are, go follow them. Just that character design really inspired me. I made myself a bit of a small reference sheet. There it is. As you can see, the proportions are slightly different. This is more what I would make for my 3D models. Is usually what I make for my 3D models. Didi from the edit put on screen my usual sketches for 3D models. It's just that, so the proportions were a bit off. This matches slightly better to both the concept art and only the concept art, because usually Stacy's models don't have these proportions. They are a lot more like this, usually. They're there you go. This is usually what the proportions would be. But of course, this character needed to be more imposing and match the album art. I like the texture work that I made in some parts. I knew it didn't need to be too complicated because it's a character that stays still in a mostly dark room, so it didn't require that much, but I really like this section. I don't know why. It just looks so nice, like this area. I don't know, it's so satisfying to look at every time. It originally was supposed to basically be a placeholder. It was supposed to be covered by the bow tie, like this originally, but I liked it too much, so I put the bow tie underneath, which makes no actual sense. Like, nothing is holding up this bow tie, but it really doesn't matter in the final product, and it works okay. The shoes suck. I hate modeling shoes in every occasion. I hate it. I hate texturing them. I hate drawing them. When I'm making 2D art, I hate everything about shoes, so I just threw them together because I knew you're not looking at the fuck-ass shoes. Come on, man. These hands are the same hands that I used in like for this sort of PlayStation-y style. I've used the same hands. I modeled them once and then never again. Let me show you the other two projects that use the same exact hands with the same exact dog shit topology. See, this is the same hand, both here and here. This is the exact same hands that I used over here, because that's simply how I draw hands. Like, the best example is over here. This is how I draw hands. That's it. That's the thing. So why, if you already have it, why do it again when I have to do this style? These are the hands that you're getting. Because it works! It looks so cool! They're so nice! I love these hands! They're awesome! Their topology sucks! Dick! What is this? I don't know if No Copyright Sound would have ever hired me if they knew that this was the topology that I was working with. I forgot what I was gonna say. I got distracted by hands. I didn't really go for actual folds, which I know how to draw, by the way, but I didn't go for folds. I went for this sort of... I just wanted to make this not scary, but a bit unnatural and kind of skeletal. I wanted to evoke the idea of a rib cage, That's why these are this strong and this heavy. I even marked them to be sharper than the rest, because, like, see the difference that it makes to just mark sharp or not. I love mark sharp, by the way. It's probably my favorite feature ever whenever I'm making low poly stuff. It's awesome. I love mark sharp. And I think it looks pretty nice. It looks pretty okay. It gives it, I don't know, more of an organic feel compared to just regular folds, maybe. Or maybe I'm just, stupid and can't draw. That might also be a thing. Oh yeah, I intentionally made so everything leads the eye over here. As you can see, everything has sort of a gradient that pushes towards this area over here, like dark. Yeah, sure, there's a bit of a white highlight over here to break the monotonous values that would have been here otherwise, but it sort of leads the eye to this area. The intention was to lead the eye over here to the head. Problem is, if you make a gradient that goes from dark to white, nobody's gonna look at the darker part. Everyone is gonna look at the white thing over here, the brightest point in the whole model, which is fine because, again, I'm really proud of how this section turned out, but it was kind of counterproductive at the end. But who cares? I do. I really care about my models. The rigging, it sucks. It's awful because I usually just use MetaRig. I haven't actually rigged something in a while from scratch because I don't need to. If Rigify exists, why would I ever model something? Problem is, it broke, it didn't work, so I had to rig it myself. Also, it doesn't have a root bone, because I forgot to put it there. Nobody except animators even know what a root bone is, so ignore it. The most interesting part is, of course, the eye rig, because I had in the storyboard, quote-unquote, the story text over here, this section close-up of Puppeteer, but I specifically wanted her, I think it's technically a woman. I wanted them to look at the camera like they do in the final product, and usually Stacy doesn't do face rigs. I mean, she does face rigs, but you just swap between still pictures, which works really well for her style. But you know, if you have a shot where they have to look at the camera, you can't really do that with still images, so I had to rig this thing up. It's divided into, I think, 2 layers. This sort of, the eye, basically the white part of the eye and the actual pupils, iris, whatever over here, and the quote-unquote frame, which is just the dark part around everything. To rig it, I made this shitty little thing. Basically everything is connected to the rotation of this bone, of this eye bone, which sometimes works backwards and sometimes correctly. Doesn't matter. It works strange, but I did it and it works, and that's fine. The texture shifts around the head based on the rotation of this bone related to the head. So, you know, technically the bone is also rotating, this eye bone is also rotating whenever I rotate the head, but because it is in a, I think, local space, it only rotates when itself is actually moved manually. That will make no sense for anyone, but I know what I'm talking about. My brain almost functions, and the glow, like this sort of outline effect, it's the same one that everyone uses. You know, you put a solidify modifier with a backwards facing texture that is just pure white over here, and that's it. That's how this effect is made. The other character is Super, the soup puppet. I don't have much to say about this character because it's just a modified version of Stacy's supermodel. I really like how these wood textures turned out. This is the only texture used. I mean, this and a variant without the face, because it's just, you know, a nice gradient over here, and it's the same texture that I used over here. A nice wood texture that works. End of sentence. And I really like how it turned out, honestly. Again, this is of course inspired by the actual artwork made by insert name here, I'm sorry. The only thing I added was this little mouth thing. But you can see how much better she is at rigging models compared to me. Everything is color-coded and nice and clean, and then mine are just hell. It's awful. They suck so much. I hate rigging. It's probably the worst part of the process. To be fair, I could have made a better rig. I just didn't have time to do it. Go commission Stacy. Something I wanted to show, because in the final video, I mean, it's there, but maybe you can't really see the full thing. It's just the actual loop, because you know, the it jerks real good animation, it's just a loop, so I wanted to show the full loop uninterrupted. So let me do that. Maybe it has motion blur, maybe it doesn't. Oh wait, let me turn this off. Okay, so you can see. And then it loops. Where am I? And I really liked how it turned out. Originally I wanted to use there's a function in Blender over here, the bounce and the elastic and the thing to just make him, you know, go clink, clunk, and then it sort of bounces whenever he moves. Problem is, that function sucks, so I didn't use it. I did it manually because it just looks better, and I have more control over it. So I did that. And everything is, of course, in a black void that is empty, completely empty. It's just this. This is the whole thing, because don't model what you don't need. You know, what is not shown shouldn't even exist. You see this, and you're like, oh, okay, given the context clues, which is, we are in a theater. Yeah, sure, this is a theater curtain, for sure. I didn't need to do much else over here. What else? Oh yeah, a bit of a maybe breakdown of the post-processing effect that is on everything. Okay, this is basically what you see in the final image, in the final product, let's say. This is the raw image that goes into the compositor. I've only recently started using the compositor. Usually I do everything in Resolve. Maybe I'll show what I usually use later. But I've recently started, you know, having fun with this, because of course you have a lot more information in the program itself instead of modifying the rendered image. So the first thing I did was slightly color correct everything. As you can see, since everything in this animation is purple and yellow, I boosted both the orange, yellowish tone, sort of the warmer colors, and also this purple area. And I toned down the green because I don't like green in general. So you can see kind of the difference over here where everything is slightly more purple. Here I just added a slight contrast to everything, just I made it a bit punchier. Some people do it directly into the like Blender presets here in the color management thing here. I really don't like this section. I prefer to do everything manually on my own. That way I have more control. Next is chromatic aberration. We love chromatic aberration. Slowly you might start to realize the very clear visual inspiration for the look of this animation, which is Inscription, which is one of my favorite video games ever. So I really tried to recreate that look over here, and I think, you know, I think it turned out pretty well. This section is just chromatic aberration with a mask so that the center of the image doesn't get blurred out. Then there's a filter. This is a slight sharpening effect. It's a sort of a leftover, a residue from when I was using the lens dispersion effect, like this. So I needed to sharpen stuff because of course it got very blurry. Then I switched to the scale chromatic aberration effect. So this wasn't really necessary, but I kept it because, you know, we ball. Vignette, self-explanatory. There are so many glares here. There is the first one, which is just the regular bloom effect. Then there's light streaks, because I love light streaks. I think they look real nice and real pretty. And then the final fog glow, which is just an extra glow that looks slightly better than the bloom. Then there's noise, and then there is this node, this brightness and contrast node, as you can see, basically flattens everything a bit. And you might say, Didi, why would you ever flatten everything if you color corrected it to be slightly punchier over here? Are you dumb? Yes, but the reason I did this is because the posterize effect makes everything a lot darker. So I just needed, you know, to brighten it up slightly, just a little bit. Like, as you can see, it's basically, if you only did this, everything would get a lot darker, and if you only did this, everything would get a lot brighter. But when you put them together, they keep the same values as the original image. The very last thing in this compositor is the moon over there. Is very, very bright. This is what the original shot would have looked like, because the moon is extremely, extremely bright. So I had to put a crypto matte. I isolated the moon to make it skip all of these glow effects. Basically only applies the very final bloom, sort of course, but that way it's not blinding and it doesn't get too distracting compared to everything else. Other thing about this moon, it's the same moon I've been using for almost a year, just as a callback for myself. I've used this one in the yandere animation, I've used this one in the swindle animation, I think. Yes, I definitely have. I've used this one in the what you want, I'm supposed to, that one. I don't remember the name of the song. That's the first time that I used... No, that wasn't the first time that I used it. What am I saying? But I used it in that, and it looked really cool, and a lot of people liked the frame of the two supers with the moon in the background, so I started using it everywhere. It's basically, if I ever need a moon, this is the moon that I use. It's just a stock image, maybe I can still find it. This is the original moon image, as you can see. It's a stock picture of the moon downscaled. Here's the original, it's a really nice picture of the moon that I downscaled. And then on every animation I put a different color ramp on it. This was the original animation where I used the moon, and then I just kept reusing it every time because it looks nice, and I love self-referencing my own stuff, and that's a nice self-reference. Look how good this looks with this color ramp. This is the color ramp of of the moon that I gave it, just to, you know, everything needs to be yellow and purple, so I gave it a yellow and purple color ramp, and I think it looks awesome. That's the compositing section. We can switch to the editing side. It took so much self-restraint not to use, at least at some point, the dithered text effect that I use everywhere. I've been using it for so long originally. The first time I used it was in a K-pop mashup. A lot of editing things I started doing because of K-pop mashups, and then I just kept them. Originally, the first time I think I put it in an animation was still in the Swindle animation. This, by the way, I love workplace horror, and I put this whole thing inside a convenience store. This, you're fired, like this, you know, Jesus, that's loud. Like this, you know, you're fired, you're fired. That is from, it's, let me sniff it out. This one. Is it? Is it actually? Oh my god, it is! I got it correct! Oh my god, Jesus Christ, I actually got it! That's awesome. It's from over here in this thing. And it's the same thing! It's the same fucking thing! I've been reusing. I'm a scammer. I've been reusing the same thing for like a year. I suck. I love self-referencing myself without anyone being able to know. It's the same thing! It's the same font. It's the same. Oh yeah, I was really like pleasantly surprised with how well this sort of filter works. Like using the this black and white filter over the free camera shots. I don't know how to describe them. These shots where it's not the rotating camera, it's sort of handheld. Works really well. This FNAF jump scare just sort of happened by accident, and you can see that it wasn't truly intentional, because originally this is what, before I added this sort of B-roll footage, it was just supposed to cut between this and this, and it wasn't really a FNAF jump scare. But then with the music and everything, it really gives off that sort of FNAF jump scare effect, because it's, you know, it's a puppet jerking around and making weird noises. So also this section, the middle section where it loops, originally this wasn't even what was supposed to loop. That's why I made the animation itself loop in the first place, so it would work in this section, just keep spinning forever. But this just looked a lot better as a visualizer, so I kept this one. Yeah, and I think that's everything. If I forgot something, I'm sorry. Well, how do you close off this type of videos? Like and subscribe, go stream maybe, and go follow the album artist, go follow Stacy. Who else? Go follow the producers of this song. Hopefully I remember to put everything in the description, and if I forget, someone let me know so I add them later. See ya!